I like being private. I think it ain't really nobody business. Like, listen to the music and you'll know what you need to know.
Right, right.
Latto swore she wasn't about the public couple life, yet here she is, spotted out in the open with 21, all while dodging direct snaps of them together. The St. Vincent dinner spot is where it all exploded. One blurry post, one oops angle, and suddenly a private trip flipped into breaking headlines. She even tried telling fans in the comments that she was just camera shy, but the pictures screamed louder than any caption ever could. People online didn't just see vacation photos, they saw marriage vibes. The way the shots lined up, the closeness, the body language, it all whispered official. Sure, there wasn't a ring zoom in or a marriage license floating around, but the vibe? Oh, the vibe was undeniable. Those frames were basically saying, "We outside together," and that was enough to send social media spinning. But here's where the fire really caught. There's already a wife in this mix. Her name, Kiana Joseph. Multiple outlets have openly called her 21's wife for a minute now. Some even whispered about a possible divorce back in 2023, though no one's ever pulled receipts on real paperwork. So yeah, this isn't rumor, it's on record, which is exactly why those new photos felt less like tea and more like gasoline on dry leaves, and the whispers got heavier, people saying Kiana might actually be prepping to sue. Now let's pause, because that whole random rollout of these pics, it didn't feel random at all. It felt staged. The lighting was soft, the angles were just enough to show chemistry without being tabloid clear, and most of the noise came from blogs, not them directly. That's the 2025 playbook right there. Let the restaurant serve as the accidental paparazzi, let the blogs fan the flames, and keep your own captions short and sweet. If we're keeping it real, the whole move had Latto's signature all over it. Not sloppy, not desperate, but sharp and intentional. She knows one thing better than most. Pictures speak louder than paragraphs, and she just let hers scream. She knows 21 ain't the type to run his mouth. So how do you make a man like that step forward? You don't beg. You turn up the heat. You put him right in the daylight next to you, so his silence starts to look less like privacy and more like a choice. That line's already making the rounds online, and people are asking, is there an actual case number floating around right now? So far, no big outlets have dropped paperwork, but the chatter is loud and it's aimed straight at the sore spot. If a filing lands, this whole thing flips instantly from gossip to documented fact. If it doesn't, those photos still did what they were supposed to do. They made the relationship look stamped and real in the court of public opinion, and they dragged the wife storyline right back into the spotlight. That's why these pics felt less like an accident and more like a well-placed push. Not messy, but sharp, because once the sun hits a secret, it's not a secret anymore. Now somebody, him, her, or the wife, is going to have to make a move.
Latto, she's mad at me because we had shared that she was in a relationship with 21 Savage, or we claimed that she was based on some stuff that we saw online, and she, her team wanted to pay me to take it down, and I said we don't do that. And she had put me in a freestyle, which she was the first rapper to do that in a nice way, one that mattered. All the other rappers who talked about me aren't even famous enough to mention. But I thought, her getting mad at me was kind of crazy.
After those island photos went public, the real question wasn't just what we saw, it was how we saw it. That's where the game gets clever. Latto didn't run to Instagram Live, didn't call out the shade room. Nah, she let carefully staged photos do the talking. The silence became part of the story. And if she really orchestrated that leak, then Latto is way sharper than people give her credit for. She's always played her image the same way. Give the fans glam, keep the serious stuff tucked away. Anytime she speaks on marriage or kids, she frames it as private business. So these photos fit her style perfectly. Tease with a little sweetness, protect the heavy moves, and keep control of the narrative. That's how she shines without handing her whole life over to strangers. That's slick, PR dressed up as casual life. But here's the twist. It could backfire if 21 figures out she's the one pulling the strings. 21 only really opens up when he's with his boys or standing next to Drake. His whole brand is about keeping family business locked down tight. Off the mic, he raps, he tours, he makes his moves, but when it comes to relationships, he barely ever puts words on it. That's exactly why one clean shot of him with Latto hits louder than a whole press conference. The machine around them has always been cautious, extra careful, and honestly, nobody wants to get exposed like this. It's rough. But here's the thing, it wasn't really a secret anymore. If they were already bold enough to step out in public, maybe 21 really has divorced his wife. That would be the perfect response to everyone asking, what about the wife? What about the kids? Some folks swear paperwork is on the way, but until there's a verified case number or court filing, it's all still alleged. Meanwhile, the internet is split right down the middle. Some supporters are saying, they grown, let them live. But then others can't get past the chatter about his wife possibly lining up a lawsuit. Again, that's just alleged. This tea could be off, but it's out there, and once it's out, people sip it anyway. Now, to put this whole saga in perspective, the past is what makes these new pictures so explosive. First off, the kids. That part ain't rumor. 21 Savage has 3 children, and he's mentioned them himself, with outlets reporting on it for years. Nobody's questioning if the kids exist. That's solid ground. And when a man already has a family, any new public romance comes with extra weight. Every photo, every caption, every sighting suddenly feels heavier, like it carries twice the impact. And then there's the wife, Kiana Joseph. That's not gossip whispered in a blog comment. Multiple outlets have straight up called her 21's wife for a while now, putting her name in black and white, which is exactly why these new photos are shaking things up. They're clashing with a storyline that was already printed in ink. Back in 2023, the divorce whispers started bubbling up, but fans never got the receipts they were hoping for. No court docs, no official drop, just noise. So here's what's solid. The wife is real, the divorce is blurry, and the whole timeline is messy. And messy timelines? That's the best soil for gossip to grow. Let's rewind to 2019. 21 Savage gets arrested by ICE, shocking everybody when it came out he was born in the UK and had overstayed his visa. That part's fact. From there, fans started tying his marriage to that moment. The theory? He married Kiana for a green card. Some even say she knew the deal and it was about paperwork, not passion. Others stretched it further, whispering that the setup was an open marriage, allegedly. If that's true, if both sides knew the rules, then being spotted with Latto in broad daylight ain't betrayal. It's just sticking to the arrangement. Again, all speculation, not confirmation, but that's what makes this rollout look bold. Because for years, people have been clocking little details. That tattoo behind her ear with Shia, his real name, the low-key matching trips, birthday posts that looked too perfect to be coincidence. Fans pieced together a relationship timeline without ever getting permission, so when those St. Vincent pics hit, it didn't shock the internet, it validated years of fan theories. These weren't brand new revelations. They were proof for the folks who had been connecting dots all along. And when you pile it all up, kids, a wife with unclear divorce papers, immigration struggles, and a romance that's been half hidden, half public for years, you see why a simple vacation flick spiraled into marriage photos and wife sues headlines. The past adds gasoline to the present, making the whole thing look like a statement. And if the open marriage whispers hold even a hint of truth, it explains a lot, like why Latto looks unbothered and why 21 seems fine stepping into the sunlight. At this point, it's not just about them anymore, it's about how their situation mirrors the same messy patterns we've seen with other celebs. Because when the streets start talking married for papers or open marriage, the narrative writes itself, and it's never quiet. This ain't a brand new play. We've seen this script before. Think about Beyoncé and Jay-Z. They flipped their private heartbreak into music history. Lemonade aired the wounds, 444 answered back, and what almost looked like divorce turned into cultural gold. The point isn't comparing discographies. It's showing how power couples win when they control their own beat. The public can forgive slips when the couple is steering the story. Now, Latto and 21 ain't dropping tracks about their love life, but the strategy feels familiar. Let the world chatter while you move quiet. Look at Rihanna and Rocky. They played the soft tease game for years. Subtle hints, low-key outings, then boom, confirmation with maternity photos that made the narrative undeniably theirs. That's exactly the lane Latto seems to be cruising in. Don't dump too much too soon. Let the internet argue itself into exhaustion until people have no choice but to accept the new normal. But here's the messy part. What is that new normal? If 21's marriage to Kiana really leaned more on paperwork than passion, and both sides understood that, then it makes sense why he can step out with Latto in broad daylight without flinching. Not a fairy tale, but a clean explanation. That's also why the lawsuit talk feels more like a threat than a locked-in promise. Because if everyone already knew the rules of the game, then what's the real foundation for a courtroom battle? Allegedly, always. But still, the timing raises eyebrows. And here's the bigger picture. Every celeb couple gets chewed up by the same machine. Stay private? You'll get accused of hiding. Step out public? You'll get accused of faking it for headlines. There's no real way to win. The only control you get is deciding what parts of your story you're willing to feed the crowd. So where does this saga head next? That's the million-dollar question. The next move will decide if this stays a passing headline or evolves into a saga that rewrites their image completely. Is this just a spicy week on the timeline, or the start of a saga that sticks to Latto and 21's names for years to come? Right now, they're standing at a fork in the road, and the next moves will tell us everything. If the wife actually files that lawsuit, the whole vibe flips instantly. Overnight, this wouldn't just be about some island photos. It'd be about timelines, kids, marriage records, maybe even immigration paperwork, all dragged under a courtroom microscope. That would leave 21 with no choice but to finally speak instead of hiding behind silence. And for Latto, even if she isn't officially named in the filing, her name will be plastered across every headline anyway. That type of heat can stain a brand fast, especially for someone still climbing toward full mainstream pop dominance. The internet might thrive off mess, but corporations, sponsors, and award shows, they hate uncertainty. Once lawyers get involved, this whole thing shifts from gossip into a real-life soap opera, with stakes way bigger than tea spilling online. But if no lawsuit ever lands, then the opposite happens. The noise slowly fades out, the photos stop looking like a scandal and start feeling like the norm. Before long, Latto and 21 slide into that public-ish couple lane, still giving people something to talk about, but no longer shocking anyone. Either way, the next step decides whether this story burns out quick or rewrites their image for good. The wife chatter could eventually fade into background noise, no longer breaking news, just part of the scenery. And once that happens, people start treating Latto and 21 like any other celeb couple, sometimes praised, sometimes dragged, but accepted as legit. If that's where this heads, the St. Vincent vacation rollout will be remembered as the turning point, the moment their story shifted from whispers to fact. Now let's bring Latto's own words into the mix. She said before she wants to keep marriage and kids private. That alone tells you everything about her playbook. She'll enjoy being seen, but she'll never hand over every detail. If a wedding or baby does come, don't expect balloons, a glossy Vogue spread, or staged fanfare. Expect hints, tiny peeks, and then a reveal months later on her own terms. That's how she protects her peace in an industry that chews up privacy for sport. For 21, the legacy play is all about tone. He's already survived ICE drama, criminal charges, rap beefs, and through it all, he kept his image as the quiet, strong type. If he frames this relationship as grown man decisions and nothing messy, he walks out steady and respected. But if a lawsuit drags him into the mud, that same calm presence will be the only thing that keeps him standing. Fans will forgive slip-ups, they always have, but what they don't forgive are lies. Consistency is his lifeline here. And if both of them stick to that script, this whole messy saga could transform into the story of how they took control of their narrative and lived it on their own terms. Don't forget to like, drop a comment, share this video, and hit subscribe to Starline Secret so you never miss the next breakdown.